all the Nephilim this side of the walls first. Then we can move forward. Good luck. Keep pushing forward. We have to clear the whole area of Nephilim for the repairs to begin. The deeper we go into Old Toronto, we'll face more and stronger Nephilim. There's one last horde on the way, but this one's big.
energy signature ahead. Could be an Alpha Nephilim. Must be the Alpha.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Dawn of the Monsters Kaiju Conline panel. Super excited to be here, and super happy that Kyle and the folks at Kaiju Cast put this whole thing on. I'm Alex Rushdie. I'm the CEO and creative director at 13M Games. I'm the creative director on Dawn of the Monsters, and I'm here with Mike Lambert. Say hello.
Hello.
He's an artist and animator working on Dawn of the Monsters, and I'm here with Marty Kugler. Say hello.
Howdy, Al.
Who's the technical director on the game. So I just wanted to do this panel to give an update to people who have been following the game since last year, or people who just might be interested in it and haven't heard of it before. If you have any questions, feel free to toss them into the YouTube comments or the Facebook live chat or whatever. And we've got our buddy Mike Nicoletti, who is one of our programmers. He's on hand to get those questions to us, and we'll be answering them at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the present button. So a little bit about us. We're 13M Games. We're a small indie company based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we like to focus on 2D action and multiplayer games. And we're super excited that our next game is Dawn of the Monsters, which is a cooperative multiplayer kaiju action game. So the story of this game is that the year is 2065, and Earth has been invaded by a destructive horde of colossal monsters known as the Nephilim. And in the wake of the apocalypse, Dawn, the Defense Alliance Worldwide Network, was created as an organization dedicated to researching Nephilim and protecting humankind. And they do so by creating monsters of their own to meet Nephilim on equal footing. And these are the monsters that you'll be controlling throughout the course of the game. So amidst internal conflicts and switching loyalties, it becomes apparent that there are larger threats that maybe not even Dawn is prepared to deal with. So we're really excited to offer a kind of cool and engaging story for this game. And that's really important to us as Kaiju fans, that the story itself is actually a big part of it. So as far as features of this game, it's 4-player co-op. It's got 4 totally unique playable characters, playable Kaiju that you get to use. You can use DNA augments to upgrade them. I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. And there are over 75 missions in the game across 5 major landmarks. I'll get into that a little bit later as well. We have fully destructible environments, which hopefully you can see a bit of that, taste of that in the little gameplay demo we showed. Lots of unique weapons, so you can actually weaponize the environment. You may have seen in the demo picking up buildings and smashing Nephilim, or launching them into gas stations that would explode. And there's also collectible archives documents that kind of expand on the game's lore. So if you're into that stuff, you can really dig deep into the world we've crafted here. So as far as destruction goes, I'll have our technical director, Marty, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So as Alex was saying, one thing that we're really excited about in Dawn of the Monsters is just the huge variety of environments the player can interact with and the huge variety of ways that they can destroy them. We knew from very early on in development that one of the key parts about getting like the kaiju feel right in this game would be in the destruction. So this is something that we've been really focusing on and iterating on throughout development. We've been drawing a lot of inspiration from not just how things would break in real life or in Hollywood movies, but also looking a lot at the practical effects of classic kaiju movies, because while not necessarily the most realistic destruction, it's very it's an important part of the genre, the feel of these kind of experiences, the destruction in kaiju media. So there's been a lot of time and focus putting into it. We've got some really cool dynamic systems that are just a lot of fun to play with. And our goal is kind of like from shattering buildings over Nephilim's heads to stomping through subdivisions or smashing through any barrier in your way. Our goal is always just to really highlight the destructive power of our kaiju as you just make your way through the world.
Awesome, thank you. On that point, I would like to talk a little bit about the combat in the game. So the game is styled somewhat after kind of classic beat 'em ups that you might recognize, like Final Fight or Turtles in Time, Streets of Rage. But we wanted to make sure that it had a really deep combat system to back it up, so that you wouldn't get tired of button mashing or things like that. So there's actually a lot. There's so many different ways that you can dispatch these Nephilim that you're going to be killing. And one of the coolest and most important tools is launching them. So you can see in this image here, in this GIF, that when Megadon performs that really heavy haymaker punch, it launches this Nephilim across the screen and they bounce. They actually hit the edge of the screen and they bounce off of it. So that's a wall bounce, and you can use that to continue your combo. You can also bounce them off the ground. You can hit them so hard down that they'll just bounce, pop right up off the ground, and continue your combo from there. So if you like, almost like fighting game level of mechanics, I think you're going to have a good time with this game. It's got a lot going on to it. And one of the other cool things that we have is anytime you deal damage, anytime you take damage, and whenever you destroy anything in the scene, you're going to generate what's called rage. So rage builds up underneath your health bar. It's a bunch of little kind of bars. And you can then spend that rage on rage attacks. And rage attacks are kind of what make the characters really unique. So you can see here in this clip here, Megadon's surrounded by a horde of Nephilim, and he spends his rage on a huge volcanic explosion attack, knocks them all back. So, there are a lot of different kinds of rage attacks. Each character has 3 unique ones. They range from AoEs to concentrated damage to, healing or buffing, all sorts of really cool stuff. So as you're spending that rage, as you're performing these rage moves, it's going to fill another bar, because we felt it wouldn't really be a kaiju game if there weren't these massive screen-filling kind of cinematic super moves. So you have these things called ultimate attacks. Every character has one ultimate attack, and whenever you spend rage, it fills your ultimate meter. Once that caps out, you can pop off your ultimate. You're totally invulnerable while it happens. It deals a huge amount of damage, as you can see in the GIF here. And sometimes even have extra bonus effects depending on who you're playing as. Now, another way to spend rage is through executions. So if you have some rage and you've gotten an enemy down to a certain health threshold, you've beaten them up enough, you can actually just spend 1 bar of rage to rip off their head or punch through their body or however else you want to kill them. And this is important because not only does it immediately kill that enemy, it also heals you. And it's one of the only ways you can actually get healed in the game. So it's kind of like this risk-reward thing. Do I want to use my rage offensively and do rage attacks, or do I want to use it defensively, save it for executions? It's totally up to you. And throughout the course of the game, you're going to upgrade your kaiju, you're going to be able to earn rage quicker, and you're going to be able to earn more of it. Now, this is important because if you've played games like, say, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, platinum kind of action games, you're ranked on your performance. And this game is similar. So you're kind of ranked on how quickly and efficiently you kill the Nephilim. Because you're an agent of Dawn, Dawn is watching up in a satellite around Earth. And they want to make sure you're doing getting rid of things quickly and efficiently as possible. So you're going to be ranked on how well you actually perform in any given wave of enemies. And then at the end of a mission, it's going to tally them all up, give you a final letter grade, and that's going to determine the kind of loot that you get. And that loot is in the form of DNA augments. So these are kind of special injections that you can put into your monsters to actually modify their DNA. It gives them new abilities. It gives them new stats, and you can equip 3 of these at any time. There's an attack augment, a defense augment, and a special augment. This is kind of where the real depth of the game opens up, because you can really customize these monsters to make them play how you want them to play. Maybe you want to have vampirism and heal every time you attack something. Or maybe you want to pour as many stats into attack as possible. And, screw defense, you don't need it. You're going to play well enough that you'll never get hit. It's totally up to you. And the possibilities are humongous. So as far as the characters go, for those who may have been following the game already, you probably recognize Megadon. So this is Megadon and Ganira. They're 2 of our 4 playable characters. And Megadon is kind of our brawler type. So he's a fire kaiju. He's got magma actually running through his veins, through his body, and he can expel that through his fists, through his mouth, into explosions, into fire breath, stuff like that. And he's pretty cool. He has a mechanic that I'd like to highlight called Flex. So basically, when you perform the Flex rage attack, he's going to kind of, flex his arms and roar, and he's going to power himself up. It'll last for about 5 seconds, but you can stack it 3 times, and he'll get hotter and hotter, and he'll kind of get stronger and stronger. And you can see it here. He flexes, and then he becomes white hot. And so if you flex to parry an attack, an attack's coming at you, and you flex to counter it, you'll actually become, max stack flex. You'll get the highest possible damage increase. So he's built around keeping that up, keeping you white hot, dealing more damage, dealing more fire damage. He can set enemies on fire and deal extra damage to them, that kind of stuff. Whereas Ganira, who we haven't talked about much yet, is actually totally different. So Ganira is a slower enemy. She is water-based. A slower player character, sorry. She's water-based. She can actually slow opponents using water attacks. And she's got some really cool rage moves. She has one that summons an AoE around her. She has one that summons a barrier that kind of protects her from a couple of hits. And she has my favorite one is this one. So she can actually summon through an attack. She summons a little minion. It's a crab kaiju that then once it finishes the attack, it starts walking around the arena and it starts attacking other monsters for you. And then every other rage attack that you do will actually affect or buff that little crab kaiju as well. So it's a totally different way to think about playing when you're playing as Ganira versus playing as Megadon. And that was really important for us, is that when we're designing these characters, that they're not just carbon copies of each other with new movesets. They are totally unique and really different and really fun. So I really love playing as Ganira. She's very unique, very different from Megadon. And I'm looking forward to talking about the other 2 characters when we get a chance to do that. And of course, the enemies, a good combat game needs good enemies. So these are some of the Nephilim that you'll be encountering over the course of the game. There's a lot of Nephilim in the game. I think there's over 25 unique monsters that you'll be fighting. And they're kind of categorized into these different categories of light, medium, heavy, and super heavy. So you can see here on the right-hand side, this Nephilim here actually will charge at you like a bull. This one here shoots ranged attacks at you. It even vomits up these disgusting grenade things you can then pick up and huck right back at them. Over here is kind of the more standard enemy. This is a super beefed up version of that standard enemy that has new attacks. It's kind of more dangerous. And this is a super heavy. Super heavies are kind of like mini bosses. So this guy here is pretty powerful, has lots of health, and he can do unblockable attacks that you need to dodge. So, each of these Nephilim, when we're designing them, we're trying to offer a way that players will have to think differently about how they approach combat with each different enemy that they fight. Of course, where are these Nephilim coming from? And this is where we get into the nest. So early on in the game story, you learn that the Nephilim are being spawned from these gigantic nests that have taken root in 4 different places around the globe. So it's your job to destroy these nests, to cut off the source of the Nephilim, to stop the invasion, which is all fine and good, except these nests are guarded by what we're calling Nephilim High Lords. They're just uber powerful super Nephilims. There's only one per nest, and they guard it. So if you want to destroy that nest, you're going to have to take out that boss monster. So you can kind of see the little silhouette of one here. They're pretty cool. They're all pretty interesting. They've got different elemental kind of controls. And I can't wait to show you guys some of the stuff that we've come up. And as far as, okay, so where are these Nephilim nests? Well, there are 4 all over the world. We really wanted to showcase a great variety of locations. We don't want every single mission to take place in a city, because as much as that's super, fun for being a kaiju game, it gets pretty repetitive. So we've got, of course, a bunch of cities, but we also have, deserts. We've got rainforests, we've got mountain ranges, and we've got places that are on fire or suffering from all sorts of extreme weather. And part of that has to do with the fact that this game takes place in the future, and we want to showcase some of the effects of climate change and how that ties into awakening the Nephilim kind of from their slumber deep in the earth. And we want to make sure each place is visually distinct, color palette wise as well. So speaking of color and speaking of art, I'd like to hand it over to Mike to talk about the art style.
Yeah, so our initial inspiration for the art style of the game was not just kaiju, but kaiju movies, or kaiju movie posters specifically. We really liked how bold and dynamic and larger than life they felt. Now, kaiju posters are usually super detailed though, so we had to try and find a way that was a little bit easier to reproduce them. We figured that the graphic aesthetic and boldness of comic books and manga fit really what we wanted, especially Mike Mignola and stuff like Trigger or the Red Line anime movie, stuff like that. We liked the harsh shadows as well. It's a simple style that is like dynamic and also feels really atmospheric. So in order for us to find a way to actually recreate that style, our first idea was to make them 3D, but we were worried about how hard it is to control 3D stuff. In the top right corner, there's an example there. That's from the Berserk anime, which is one of the more notorious examples of what that looks like. But you can tell that it's 3D still, even though they're trying to make it look 2D. So what we decided to do instead was stick to 2D art. And we devised a way to use normals, which is a way of, it's kind of like a bump map for 3D. And that way we would be able to make it so that it was dynamically lit. And it also gave us more control over how those shadows would actually look. For example, like we looked at stuff like Guilty Gear, which Guilty Gear is a 3D game which is trying to look 2D, but they take a lot of control over how those shadows look. So we were trying to do that, but the other way around. We used spine to animate things. That way we would only have to make things in pieces, because it would take way too long for us to animate each frame and then add normals to each frame. So you can see in the bottom right there, that's how everything looks when it's together with the light shining on Megadon there. And then for the philosophy of how we were designing things, when you hear about kaijus, you usually think about kaiju movies like Godzilla or Gamera, but everybody on the team has different experience with different types of kaiju stuff. So we also wanted to appeal to people who like Ultraman and Power Rangers and Metal Heroes and other tokusatsu things like that. We wanted to make a distinct style between both the good guys and the bad guys. So for the good guys, we took a page from Akira Watanabe and the way that he designed kaijus. He designed kaijus like Baragon and King Ghidorah and Godzilla. He based his stuff off of nature and combining real animals and things like that. For the enemies, the Nephilims, we were taking a page from Tol Narita. He is the one who designed all of the Ultraman Seijin. His style was generally influenced from avant-garde art movement stuff like expressionism, Dadaism, and Cubism. He didn't really have very much regard for biology. He just wanted to make things look strange. Another thing that we were taking as inspiration was mythological and historical art. A lot of those, the way that those look are based off of people who have had animals described to them and things like that. but they never really saw them, so they end up looking kind of bizarre. And we liked the way that type of stuff looked. Yeah, and then yeah, we didn't want to have our kaijus look derivative in any way unless we were specifically referencing something. So a lot of our designs are based off of the influences of those two artists rather than directly lifting from kaiju media. Yeah, and then other than that, we were trying to figure out what we thought made a kaiju unique. So we asked ourselves some questions. What makes a kaiju more than just a monster? We thought that kaijus have unique personalities and characters. They have strange and interesting abilities. Oftentimes they make conscious and deliberate actions. They're not purely based on instinct like an animal would be. It's common to see kaijus thinking or contemplating things or even communicating with each other. They seem to have their own motivations a lot of the time. So yeah, the best way I could describe what a kaiju is, for lack of a better word, charm, I think. Yeah, and then this is a couple on the screen here, a couple of the designs, early concepts for some of the designs that we did.
Awesome, thanks, Mike.
Alex.
Yeah, so I've just got a couple of quick screenshots here just to show some of the stuff we've been working on. This one I found really cool because this is actually in what's called New Toronto. And basically, Toronto has almost gone kind of like Attack on Titan, where they've walled off parts of the city to where the Nephilim are. So this is on the good side of the wall. And they've taken some kaiju Nephilim skulls and they've kind of integrated them into their architecture. And this is on the bad side of the wall. You can see the guns pointing out where the Nephilim kind of run rampant and the city's kind of been overtaken by, nature and decay and things like that. And here's, of course, the nest that you saw earlier that's spawning these Nephilim and that you're going to have to fight. So I wanted to make sure that for those, especially those who've been following the game for a while, that I could announce something new, like a really new piece of news just for Kaiju Online. And the number one question that we've been getting is, okay, what platform is this coming to? What's it coming to? And for the longest time, we said, okay, well, we're still figuring that out. So today I'm going to announce that stuff, and I'm happy to say that the game will be coming to PC and Nintendo Switch, as well as PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. We wanted to make sure that we could get this on as many platforms as possible so that as many people as possible can play it. We don't want anyone to be able to have to say, oh, I wish I had that machine, but I've got this one instead. And we're also happy to announce that it'll be launching on all these platforms in the first half of 2021. So we're super excited to get this game out and to share it with everyone, and we can't wait to show you guys more. Another thing that we're really thankful about is, so last year we actually debuted the game at G-Fest, and the response was super positive. It was super great, and we were really overwhelmed by the positivity from the Kaiju community, and we did bring a toy from Seismic Toys to sell there, and the response to that was really good too. It actually totally sold out. So there was, of course, a call to make a new one. So we do have a new Megadon variant, and this is the Arctic Blast Megadon. I don't know about all of y'all streaming around the world, but right now it's incredibly hot in Toronto. So Arctic Blast Megadon is here to cool us off. And for Kaiju Online, for this, and until next Friday, actually, we've knocked $5 off of them. And then we've also got a coupon code for everyone at Kaiju Online. Just type in Kaiju Online in the promo code section when you check out. You'll get 10% off your entire order, and it applies to Megadon as well. So you're actually getting more of a discount. But we've also got one more announcement, and that is that Seismic Toys is announcing their next toy in the Dawn of the Monsters line, which is Ganira, and we're going to have the pre-orders open right now if you go to Seismic's website. Where is she? There she is. So this is the prototype. It's still going into production in a couple of weeks, but pre-orders are open now. And for Kaiju Online, we are offering the same discount. So it's going to be $5 off. Plus, it's still eligible for that 10% off coupon. So if you want to pick it up, I highly recommend you grab it now. While it's on sale. So that's pretty much all we've got to say for today. But we will have more to announce. We've been a little radio silent recently, but we had a lot of work to do. We do have a publisher now, and there'll be an announcement about that later. But there's a lot of cool stuff that I can't wait to share with you guys. And please do check us out on Twitter. Check out our Discord. We do want to do more community engagement, deciding, kaiju names or kaiju appearances. We did have a poll before where people could choose, okay, what should this kaiju look like? Yeah, and so I think that is all, but we have some time for questions. I'm just going to look through here and see what would be a good question. So we've got, will we be getting a physical release on Nintendo Switch, possibly a collector's edition, and will there be an Ultraman-like character to play as? I can't say anything about that now. We definitely do love physical. We did Rumbo as a physical on pretty much every platform. So it's something we're looking into for sure. And a collector's edition is obviously something we would definitely like to do. As far as whether or not there'll be an Ultraman-like character, I'll just say keep an eye on our website and social media, and who knows, maybe there will be one. We're all big fans of Ultraman. I'm actually wearing an Ultraman Gaia shirt right now from Uniqlo. Will there be references to other popular tokusatsu like Gamera and Godzilla? This is a great question. To be clear, we're making a totally original Kaiju universe that is just, we want to create something totally new and original, kind of like how Pacific Rim was a totally new and original IP when it came out. But we're all still huge fans of this stuff, and we definitely want to have little hints, nods, and callouts for them. So when you get the game, I do recommend looking over it with a fine-tooth comb and seeing what you can find and sharing it with your friends. Let's see. Is that a human talking in the background? Yes. Well, I guess I explained earlier. Yeah, those are the individuals from Dawn actually watching the operation. So they actually blast you down onto Earth. You do your operation, and then they pull you back up to their satellite headquarters. How did the humans take control of the monsters? This is a good question. However, it is a big part of the story itself. Is the mystery of how did Dawn get control of some monsters? Hopefully, we can reveal a little bit more about that in the coming months. Are there plans for Nephilim figures? We'd love to. I mean, if the figures continue to sell well, we'd love to do the whole lineup. Here's one for Marty, actually. Are you guys using a third-party engine, or did you roll your own?
We're using Unity for development. So we have a lot of experience with Unity. We've been using it ever since Runbow. And so it's been really exciting this time around, because this is the first time actually we've really been able to take advantage of more 3D stuff in Unity. So it's been really, really fun getting a chance to really delve into some of the newer features and newer versions of Unity, and just really pushing the engine and just seeing what we can accomplish with it. And so we've managed to pull off some really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's nice because we've worked pretty closely with Unity on a lot of projects before, so we're kind of able to get we have a lot of pretty in-depth experience, but also Unity allows us to hit all 6 launch platforms.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. So we're pretty excited about that. At Marty, is the destruction RT, I guess, real time with something like Chaos, or are you bringing in animations?
So our destruction is real time. We actually have our own solution that we're using for that, and kind of it's not one single thing, but we've kind of developed this whole suite of different tools and different methods of handling different stuff. So If you look at the destruction, we have different stuff. Like we have mesh deformation, similar to if you play like say a driving game, and when you drive a car into the wall and it kind of dents the front of the mesh, we do something similar to like to that mesh deformation, but with our buildings. And so we do that so you can cut away pits to the building. As you destroy buildings, you can dynamically smash them. We actually just crack the mesh apart, and so we're able to break it in really really cool dynamic ways. And it serves two purposes, because then on the one hand, it's really great, it looks really cool, it's really visceral, and like you get like a real good response to everything you do. But also from a production standpoint, it's great because then art is able to focus more on making cool new locations and cool stuff, and not have to spend all that time making the broken versions of the same things, because we can offset that to the tech side of things and do things in a much more flexible manner.
Yeah, actually, I remember early on in the project, we spent some time looking at some older games with destruction and some kaiju games and some just general games, and we kind of picked apart, okay, what did we and didn't we like? And then Marty was largely responsible for kind of crafting up an entirely new ground up system to make this destruction, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, and like I say, we've drawn a lot of inspiration from things. So it's like, yeah, we've looked at a lot of other games and how they did things, but also like we looked at movies and we said, well, if we were to do something like that, how would we do it? But then also we drew a lot of inspiration from other games in ways that it's not quite the same thing, but it works for us. Like for instance, we're able to render massive forests, like huge trees, because we have jungles, and we're basically using a very similar solution to what a lot of other games would use for grass. We're having the ability, like when you stomp through buildings, piles of rubble will build up around your feet, and it's a very similar solution to how other games might do footprints in snow. And like I said, like it's like our damage to buildings is very similar to how like a lot of other games would do damage to something like a car. So we're able to like kind of pull lessons from other media and basically say, okay, how can we apply this to what we're trying to do?
Good stuff. Let's see what else. Is this? Oh, here's a question. Did you and your team do research on tokusatsu shows like Sentai and Power Rangers or Kamen Rider?
Is that one directed at me or?
It is in general. I mean, I know that myself and Mike are well versed in Sentai and Kamen Rider. In fact, Mike, I think you have quite a few art books, right?
Yeah. I have an art book of it's like a collection of all the monsters from Metal Heroes.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and a couple Keita Emamiya art books as well.
Yeah. There was a point in the project where we actually did a bunch of movie nights, and we would watch tokusatsu movies and talk about them. And it was an important part of
some of us on the team didn't have as in-depth of experience as like Alex or Mike do. So yeah, they put us through crash courses, and actually it was a lot of fun. It's several of us got a chance to go to G-Fest last year for the first time. So that was just a very cool experience to get to like just see the fandom and just like really experience the whole thing.
Why does this look like it would make possibly the coolest anime of all time? I don't know. I think we got to talk to some anime creators and get them working on this.
It's because it's got big monsters in it, and they cool.
Yeah. Also, I should mention there are human characters that you will be able to see, experience. Like it's not just the monsters. There is that human element that we think is quite important to the drama of the story. Last year, I spoke about popular kaiju artists contributing to Dawn of the Monsters, like Sandra Cannon. I did. We've since gotten more artists involved.
Matt Frank's in the chat right now.
Matt Frank is in the chat. Spoilers. And he's definitely cooking up something for us. Cooking up a couple things actually. But we've actually got quite a few, and I'm super excited to not only announce who's involved, but also show off what they've been working on. But we'll probably do that at a later date. Can you pet the kaiju? I mean, if you look at Megadon's slash attack, it looks kind of like a petting motion. I saw local co-op. Is that only what's available, or will there be online in the future? Right now, it's local only. That's our goal, as initially is to make a fun local co-op game. It's something we want to look into. We've done work in online games before. It is a lot of work. It's very expensive, so I don't want to promise something. So expect. I mean, it's also very fun single player. To be clear, like we've also built it to be a really good single player experience. It's not just like, oh, it's only fun as a party game.
Yeah.
What city is in the upper left with the blue-yellow palette?
Toronto.
Yeah, it was Toronto.
That is a view of the destroyed CN. It's concept art of the destroyed CN Tower and Skydome.
Yeah, so that's the CN Tower crashed into the ground there. What else we got here? Is it just 4 monsters? Yes. So it's just 4 monsters. We wanted to have the 4 monsters for the 4 players. Right now, that's the plan, is to just have the 4 monsters. If we do more, maybe that's like a DLC thing. We're not sure. It would kind of depend on how successful the game is at launch. Let's see what else I got here. Will we get a beta for the game? I'm not sure. If you guys would like that, like sound off in our Discord. I don't know if we've ever done a public beta for a game, but
who knows what the future could hold.
Who knows? Will there be unlockables outside of the upgrade stuff? Yes. There will be. So not only can you get those DNA augments to upgrade your kaiju, you can also do there are kind of universal unlocks that happen at the point of the game where you unlock special moves, you unlock stuff like that. And you can also unlock lore logs, information about the world, information about each of the kaiju, information about each of the Nephilim. And you can also, once you beat the game, you unlock the art gallery that kind of goes deep into the concept art and stuff like that, design documents. I've seen questions about PvP multiplayer. Right now, it's planned as a co-op game. That would also kind of be something that maybe we would look at after release if the game is successful, offering a PvP mode.
Yeah, because it's things like that. We never want to take things off the table, but we want to make sure that if we do include something like that, we give it the time and attention that it takes to do it right and do it well. So right now, we want to make sure we've got the local co-op and the single player solid and just like 100%. And then who knows what could happen? But
yeah,
the future holds many mysteries.
That indeed. I think one more question is: do the monsters go on a Canada-wide tour or just Toronto? Right now, it's just the GTA because that's kind of where the Nephilim are concentrated. I would love for them to go to Alberta. That's where I'm from originally. I'd love for them to smash through the oil sands. But right now, it is just the Greater Toronto area.
At least just to clarify for that one set of missions, because then our other missions are elsewhere in the world.
Yeah. You're going to go on a bit of a global tour. Are lore logs level pickups, meaning they will affect your time if you plan to speedrun? So some of them are, some of them aren't. So they could affect your speedrun time if you're doing a 100% clear. Absolutely. Will there be more missions in the future for the DLCs if this game is successful? If the game is successful, hopefully. If the game is successful, hopefully we'll do a Dawn of the Monsters 2.
Yeah. Top contributors.
Just to be clear, that is not me saying there is a sequel in development for this game right now. There is only one game. Okay, well, I think that's probably about it. We made it under time, which is good. I believe what we're going to do is upload some of this stuff to our website, and then we can share it on social media for people who want to see some of the footage, GIFs, screenshots again. And I believe this video will be archived here.
Yeah. And also for anyone who had questions that we weren't able to get around to, we had our Discord. Feel free to join in there. We're very active. Some of us are mostly active around there. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Twitter or whatever you got. Thank you all so much. Mike, do you have any last words?
I don't think so.
Well said. Thanks, Kaiju Conline, for hosting us. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to watch. Enjoy the rest of Kaiju Conline.
Yep. Thank you. Y'all have fun.
Thank you.
So long.